Hello, everyone. My name is Catherine O'Hare, and I am the Vice President and Chief Compliance Officer with MARR. Most of you know me. We have a special person with us today. Her name is Jodie, and she's actually going to be talking to us about a new system that's in place that could be beneficial to our residents, where they'll be able to sign into meetings, and she'll explain more about it. And in the meantime, I wanted to introduce really quick, Kayla. You want to introduce yourself and let people know if you have any updates?
Hello, everyone. I am Kayla King, and I don't specifically have any updates, but I did want to give everyone a reminder about renewals. I know we have like a 60, 30, 15-day reminder kind of period where we let you know about your renewals, but we do need to start receiving payments quicker. It's not as important if you complete your whole renewal process. Like right away, but we do need to receive payments within 15 days of your certification expiring, because that's the part we're actually needing to get you on the site review schedule. If you wait to pay until like the very last day you're due, say you're due December 30th and you pay like the day before, then your certification expires. And even though you have like a 60-day period, it still takes a while to get you on the site review schedule, actually complete your site review, for you to complete any corrections after your site review. So we just kind of want to get rid of that overlap and make it so when your certification expires, you basically get your new one right away. Okay, so we want to get a little bit better on that. Otherwise, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to cover.
Wally?
Yeah, I'm Wally Slatinsky. I work with outreach with MARR, and I really don't have any updates this month. We've got a couple things in the works, and we'll probably report on those next month at the operators meeting. Thank you.
My dog was squeaking his toy, so I had to hurry and move it. And Kelly's ill today, so she won't be with us. We have our new contractor with us today, Desiree Pyle. So welcome. You guys will be seeing Desiree here and there. She'll be training with me after the first of the year. And she and Brian Kennedy will be two of the faces that you'll be seeing besides my own after the first of the year. So Jeff, are you on here? He's not. Go ahead, Jodie. Go ahead and take over.
Actually, I'm here.
Oh, there he is. Just a minute, Jodie.
I struggle with all things technological, and I didn't know where the mute button was.
Okay.
Yeah, my only thought was to encourage people that have any questions about the certification process, and I know that we're getting probably 2 or 3 new applicants for people on a monthly basis, looking for information on how to become certified. And that's all available on the MARR website. So that is something that I would encourage people to do. The other thing that I'm going to ask this for all of our members today, and we'll reach out to you later, probably after Christmas. But I'm thinking about establishing a mentor-mentee process for the new operators, to hook them up with a more experienced operator to answer questions that they may have regarding practical issues on the day-to-day business of running a recovery residence. And I will end it with, I'll give you the weather forecast. It's only going to be 75 degrees here today.
Tell them where you're at.
Boca Raton, Florida, my winter office.
All right. One thing about Kelly couldn't make it today, but she did want me to remind everybody that she'll be starting the community of practice in January, and she'll be sending everyone that's involved with that an email soon. So thank you for waiting, Jodie. Go ahead and share what you would like. You're muted.
Rookie mistake. Thanks, Catherine and Kayla and everybody for having me on here. My name is Jodie Schanhals. I'm founder and CEO of Meeting Maker, which is a geolocation-based app that helps verify attendance. And then it gives providers like you meaningful reporting that you can trust that they actually did what they said they were going to do. So we believe at Meeting Maker that utilizing this has a lot of benefits for everybody involved, including your being able to trust that they're really doing the things that you know will help them stay in recovery. Hopefully it shows issues if they're not doing those things before they have a positive drug test, you know, so that you can look at ways to help them get back on track. And it helps them go to meetings and other requirements that you're asking of them without the stigma of that piece of paper and that violation of privacy that happens to them when they give that piece of paper to someone else and say, will you sign this? There's a lot of things that means, you know. I just also want to thank, as a preliminary, just want to say a couple things about going to MARR this year. It was really special for me. It's the first time I've ever been to the conference. And I brought a friend with me, and I just want to quickly give you what they experienced. They're a minister on a sabbatical, and they thought that they were going to just hang out with me for a couple minutes and then do their thing. But as soon as they saw what was happening, they stayed at the booth. And they were so moved by all of you and what you do and the difference that you're trying to make in other people's lives.
Live properties.
It's a really special thing. And when she came back from her sabbatical, she actually talked about it on All Saints Sunday. And I don't know if it's appropriate here to put the link to that sermon, but it really talks about MARR, you, and this worker at the Henry Hotel, which she calls Saint Anne of the Henry Hotel of Dearborn, Michigan, because that woman lost her daughter to addiction. And she was very ashamed of that. And she wanted to call off work, but she couldn't. She wanted to call off work for your conference because she felt ashamed. But instead, she felt love, acceptance, inspiration. So anyway, it's so moving to me. So if it's okay, I want to put that in the chat. And
Definitely.
into it at your leisure. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And, you know, I play piano for that church and I had no idea she was going to do that. And I didn't know that she got all that out of it. It was beautiful. It was really great. It's great to have a career where we can make a difference, right? And I'm in the recovery world. That's how I know that this is an issue. I want to quickly go through this demo. If you have any questions, please save them for after, because I usually run a little longer than the 15 to 20 minutes that are allotted for me. So I'm going to try to do it as quickly as I can to give you an opportunity to ask the questions that you have. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. There's two parts to this app. One is the user app, which I'm showing you now, and the other part's the report. And it really just does what we say it's going to do. It allows them to go to meetings and get their verification discreetly, and then it gives you and anyone they want to share this information with a meaningful report. So if I'm the user, one of your clients, I go to a meeting and I can swipe. This is the homepage. And I'll walk around all these tabs at the bottom to show you what they are. We try to make it as easy as possible for people who aren't exactly tech savvy. we try to keep that in mind. So anyway, in order that they don't create a meeting by just having it in their back pocket on this page, we make them swipe. I'm here. And then Meeting Maker puts a geolocation fence around them, looks for meetings. There aren't any right now. So in this place where I am, and so they can create a meeting, but we have a really great list of AA meetings, NA meetings, and any other meetings that you have as residences, house meetings, curfews, whatever it is that you want to make sure that they are going to and getting credit for. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm doing a cardinal sin of Meeting Maker. I'll tell you right now. It shows an Allenall club in Washtenaw County in Ann Arbor, right? I am not in Ann Arbor. I'm in Traverse City, Michigan, actually. And so every time I get a report from my demos, I get not at that location, not at that location, because Meeting Maker knows when there's not a simulated location. But anyway, FYI. So if there's no meetings to be found, I can click on this plus at the top right. And this is how I create a meeting. I can create an in-person or virtual, so I can track either kinds of meetings. And then I'm going to say meeting with MARR. And then all I have to do is click on this location icon. It's going to give that to me. I can say what type of meeting it is. Let's say it's an NA meeting just for purposes of the demo, and it goes from 3 to 4 o'clock. And I'm going to go ahead, and I think that this should be added to the schedule so everyone can go to it. So I'm going to click that little button down there, and I click that arrow, and then I'm done. I can put my phone away. So that's all I have to do if I have to make up my own meeting, but I can just tap on the card if it's already available. So you can see already I arrived at 3:11 for a 3 o'clock meeting. So I'll tell you, it will already say I got there after the start time. It'll let me know. So I'll go around the rest of the app to show you different things that you can do. So here in this area, here are the meetings that I've created. And again, this is my demo account, so there's a lot of them. But here's this meeting with MARR right here. I can edit it if I need to. You know what? That's not an NA meeting. That's a smart meeting, actually. So I'm just going to go like that and fix that. I can go to my attended meetings, and here is here's my meeting that I'm in right now. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and you can see I arrived after the start time. So maybe I want to, maybe if someone gets there late, you want an explanation. So I can just tap on this, and they can actually do this with their voice too, create this memo. They can say, or I could say, I was busy talking about the sermon my friend Robin gave and didn't sign in. Okay, so I can say that, and this is going to show up in the report. And it can also say, I had to pick up my kid. I had to do this. I had to do that. Or it can also say, if you ask them, especially with virtual meetings, give a little synopsis of the meeting. They can say, the topic was acceptance. John was the chair. It was a good meeting. All right. So all those things can show up in the report, anything that you're asking them to do or anything that they want you to know. So, or anything they want to remember for themselves for that matter. Okay. So that once they fill out a comment, this little bubble gets filled in as orange. Once they get sent to you, the airplane turns solid. And this, if they make it on time and they stay for the whole time, they have a green check mark. If they leave early or get there late, and there's a 5-minute grace period at either end, they'll have a red exclamation mark. Over here, here are my goals. Okay. I've been in recovery for, this is actually my sobriety date. There are other places where we can change, or they can change the words they use, and I'll show you about that in a minute. But here are the things I need to do this week. Okay. I need to go to 4 recovery meetings. I need to go to 5 hours of community service. So Meeting Maker can measure hours as well as occurrences. If you have something that you want them to do 2 hours of, let's say, I need to sign in for curfew every night. And you can see I'm in trouble there because I haven't done it. If there's something else you're asking them to do, is under other, I don't know what that is, some kind of engagement that you want them to do. Peer support, that's my sponsor, haven't talked to them yet. And then I go to the gym twice a week, which, it's Wednesday. I've got a little ways to go, so I still have time to get this done. But as a client, I can look at this page and know exactly what it is that I have done, haven't done, and still need to do. I can keep track that way. And as you or they change their goals, however that works for you, they can hit this plus at the top right, and they can change the number of hours, or, I don't do community service anymore. I'm going to drop that off. And so when it goes back to the goals, that's no longer there. Okay. And so we try to cover everything with the other tag. You can see there's under recovery, there's different types of meetings just in recovery, because there's a lot of things that people find are permissible. It's not just AA or NA. It's not just 12-step fellowships. There's a lot of other things that people do. So, anyway, so that's how that works. Then over here in the profile, when they sign up, this recovery type down here shows, they can choose sober, clean, absent, and recovery, or none even. So if they choose none, it says, I've been tracking goals for this long, right? So, anyway, so back at the meeting, here I am, I've been here for 5 minutes, going strong, but I'll probably leave this meeting soon. Anyway, I'll show you something else. Also, here in the contacts, this is where you would have them put your contact in to get the reports. So once you get, this information, that's me, my meeting types, maybe you just care about recovery. Maybe your organization is so large, you want to divide it up, or maybe you get all of that information. And so it assumes you want all that information initially. Once they put your contact in and save that contact, now you will automatically get their reports every week. So they go to meetings all week, and then you get the report. I'm going to go ahead and there's 3 ways to leave a meeting, by the way, and something kind of important that I didn't say. Meeting Maker doesn't just check someone in; it is continuous verification. So if they leave the meeting, it will kick them out. It'll just say, "Hey, you left," and it's over. Also, if they if they forget to end the meeting and they're still at the same place 30 minutes after the meeting ends, it'll automatically close it out successfully. And then the other is to just swipe. So I can swipe, I'm leaving. And you can see I arrived after the start time, I left before the end time. So the user knows exactly what's going to be on that report. There's only a couple things that they won't see, but none of it's really editable. The only thing that's editable are their notes. They can delete it and create other notes, or if they don't like what they wrote, But anyway, so that's the app, pretty basically. And then I'll show you with the report that you get every week. So you get one report for everybody in your house, and you can divide it up between houses if you want. But you get one report for everybody, and it starts out with this summary at the top that shows every person and the different meeting types that they're trying to measure and whether they made it or not. If they made their goal, it's green. If they didn't make their goal, it's red. And this guy down here, Joe, and I know this is probably kind of hard to see, but this guy down here, Joe, it's gray. And that's because he's on week 1 and he just hasn't set up his phone yet. He hasn't set up his goals. So he's going to meetings. He just didn't set up his phone right and needs a little bit of help, right? So it shows, did they make their goal? What is their goal? How many did they make? How many did they arrive late or left early? And anomalies, and I'll talk about that, like that spoofing location thing falls under anomaly. Those are kind of red flags. This shows how long have they been in the program. You know, when we first developed this, it was pretty court-centric. So that's what that means, you know, in sobriety or recovery court or something. But that could mean weeks in the house, you know, and how many weeks have they met the goals that you've asked of them. So you can kind of see at a glance right up top, who's doing okay, who's not, who needs some help, who needs a reward, you know? So it really helps you do that. And then down here is just all the data. So this is kind of the, you know, 21st century court slip, basically, or meeting slip, where it has all the data, all the information. When does the meeting happen? Where is it? When did they get there? When did they leave? And over here at the right, it shows those notes I was showing you. That's where you read those. And I just want to talk just a second about the anomalies. So there's a few things that Meeting Maker kind of shows up as red flags, okay? One is the location spoofing thing, which I've already talked about. And that's an address conflict right here, or false location. I'm sorry, false location. There's another location-based anomaly that happens. If they were to say, because Meeting Maker has a really robust offline to online, if you're in a rural area and there's no connectivity in a lot of places, they can still go to meetings and use Meeting Maker for them. And all they need to do is connect to something, Wi-Fi, internet, whatever, in order for that meeting to be verified after the fact, because Meeting Maker can take all that information and go, what time did you get there? What time did you leave? Where were you at? So if they say that they were somewhere where they were not, it will come up with an address conflict anomaly, okay? The other thing is changing device. Meeting Maker can only be on one device at a time. But this prevents someone from saying, hey, you know, will you go to this meeting for me? And just download Meeting Maker and then put my email address in there. And what happens is when they do that, Meeting Maker will say to that new person, hey, you're already on another device. Are you sure you want to do this? And they go, yep, I do. I'm helping my friend out. So they do that. And then that doesn't show up in the app. Like everything else does, that does not. It shows up on this report. And by the way, also, everybody who, or all the users, all the clients, they get a report for themselves. They don't see everybody, but they get a report for themselves every week too. So again, everyone's on the same page. They know what the report says because they get a copy. You know what they're doing because you get this. So that's really the whole concept behind Meeting Maker. We hope that it saves you administrative burden of trying to keep track of all this stuff for everybody, and gives you that kind of peace of mind that they're really doing what they say they're going to do, to the best of, you know, technology's ability, right? And at least a much better reliability, and gives them a way to keep their story, you know, let them tell their story when they want to. out there in the world when they're going to meetings, because that piece of paper can really make someone feel like a second class citizen. And, those of you who are in recovery like me, I mean, we already feel like that anyway, and we feel apart from. So I really believe that this can be a game changer for people who are trying to create different behaviors and, but suffer from that apart from feeling. So anyway, that's what Meeting Maker is and does. And I'm open to any questions you have. Thank you.
Hi, I'm at the subscription page. $6.99? That's monthly? Is that right?
Yeah, that's for users directly. There's a different model for clients, and I can post that up here actually and show you what the cost is. So, and if cost is an issue, we can talk about it. I really, this is retail. So, if you're small, if you're starting out, all kinds of things, just, this is so negotiable. But, oh, hold on. There we go. So for clients, it starts out, if you're doing month to month, it's $8 a seat per month. And like I said, so you can change the number of people every month if you need to, blah, blah, blah. And if you don't want to make a commitment. However, when you have a commitment of a year, then it goes down to $720, which is really close to the user price. It is a little bit less for user because it's a little bit less overhead of administration. And it goes up from there. So if you have a larger commitment or a larger number of seats, the price does go down.
What's the minimum price?
I mean, one person at $720 for a year, or one person at $8 for, a month. Yeah, you don't have, there's no minimums. If you have a home with 6 beds, then it would be 6 times whatever commitment level.
So Jody, when you said that somebody could create a meeting, so
Mhm.
what's to stop an individual from going to Aunt Sandy's house and saying that I'm at a AA meeting and this is the address? Because you're not there's meetings that pop up here and there. So how would we know that that person's actually at their family's house hanging out versus at an actual meeting?
That's a really good question. And I think what happens is, I think a lot of people who are managers or looking at this data or no, they're going to see 3 people going to the meeting with one address, and probably if it's A or NA, or already in the system available to everybody, it's not going to show up as a user created meeting, right? But so if 3 people go to that meeting and this person has a different address for the same meeting and it's user created, that's a red flag a little bit. Yeah, I think those kind of behaviors that are where they're trying to get out of something will show up in this data pretty easily, actually.
Is there a way for them to do this? Like, most of the people have phones. Not
Mhm.
everybody comes in and has a phone or has that. Is there another way that can take place? Can they keep track? And another question I have is they get to the meeting like right on time, but then they take their coffee, have a seat, and then they're putting in their information. It's going to show they're late, probably, even though they were maybe at the meeting early, but they couldn't really log in until afterwards. Is there a way to?
That's when they would put a note in the app to explaining what happened.
A regular note. Okay.
And also that 5-minute grace period, you know, addresses that too. If I get to a meeting on time, get my cup of coffee, have a seat, grab my phone, and really it's like swipe, tap, phone in pocket or whatever.
Pretty simple.
Grayson?
You mentioned it puts up sort of a fence so they can't go too far. How does that work with virtual meetings? Like how big is the area they have to move in?
Well, that is a good question. So for virtual meetings, and wait a minute, I'm going to put my info in here just in case you want it. So virtual meetings, we grab a beginning and ending location, but we don't report it for the reason that you can be doing anything while you're at a virtual meeting. And my home group is actually a virtual meeting, and I see people driving to work. I see people at the store. I see people doing their dishes. You might see me doing my dishes. Anyway, so we felt it would be really difficult to have continuous location during a virtual meeting. So it just shows it's a way for them to track that they went. And a lot of my clients that allow virtual meetings do this. They allow 1 a week, you know, out of, you know, you have to go to 4 and one of them can be a virtual meeting. And when you go to a virtual meeting, tell us what it was about and, you know, what you got out of it. Give us a little synopsis. So those are the things that are currently, at least around here, is what they do for those. But we're looking at an enhancement where Zoom has some powerful stuff that we're looking at to when they sign into a virtual meeting that's a Zoom meeting, it will tell you when they got there, when they left, all that. So
Thank you.
it connects with that.
Crystal asked what are seats and how many seats they attend.
Oh, okay. So seats are like beds, basically. So what we mean by that is the subscription doesn't end when the person leaves, right? This is a really highly, as you know, transitory group of people, right? They might stay for 6 months, they might stay for a week. We don't know. So anyway, so if you buy 10 seats, beds or whatever, then whoever you want to put in there, if somebody leaves, you can put somebody else in that spot. You don't have to buy a new spot.
And they can continue to use Meeting Maker even after they left the house.
That's another thing. Thanks for bringing that up. Is the user when they leave your house, if they still need to verify their attendance for other reasons for other people, and they can't get them to pay for it, or you know, such as the Michigan Secretary of State, you know, you leave the house but you still have to get your attendance verified to get your license back. They can personally take over that subscription and their data remains with them.
Awesome.
So Jody, to summarize, if you have one house with 10 people in the home, it's going to cost you somewhere between $70 and $80 per month for your services for those 10 people.
Correct.
Anybody have any other questions? See anything else in chat, Kayla? Any other questions?
No, does not look like it. Do you have, is that the website, the Meeting Maker you
Yes.
put in your, okay. So that website will probably show more in-depth videos and give more information too, if anyone else has any extra questions.
And please feel free to contact me if you have any other questions or would like to talk about how to implement it at your home.
Thank you for taking the time, Jody, and explain this other resource. It's always nice for operators to see what else is out there and just give them another option to keep track of things that are going on in the program.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
you.
Thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate
Nice
it.
holiday.
You too. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.
One thing I wanted to talk about today is the operator of the month. And so this month, the operator of the month is Reach Sober Living. And Chris Pompey is the owner operator of Reach Sober Living. And I've been impressed with his program and with Chris since he first became certified a couple years ago. So Chris, would you please let everybody know what's going on in your home and what kind of makes you stand out? And you've got a lot of things in the fire, opportunities to grow.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Catherine and MARR and operators for electing us. We are humbled by this. Yes, so Reach Sober Living is a men's recovery housing program located in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And I often say that Reach Sober Living is a byproduct of my life because I am in recovery as well. So I think one of the unique things we try to do at Reach that's probably no different from what most of the operators do on this call is we try to ensure that when the men enter the home, that they recognize that it's a recovery community right away. I know a lot of times we have some different houses that kind of mimic the work we do, such as halfway houses, MDOC houses. But recovery houses to me, should stand out. It should be clear when an individual enters a recovery home that they're in a recovery home. So one of the things we like to highlight is our 3 pillars, which are recovery first, accountability, and then ownership to the home. When we first opened up, my wife charged me with, if we're going to do this, this home needs to look like and stay in the same condition as if we had to live in it. So I
Awesome.
yeah, we take a lot of pride in ensuring that our home stays in good shape. And I can just say this, and this is a little braggadocious, but we often have men come to the home, and once they get through that intake, they often say, okay, so where do we stay at? Where's the home where we actually gonna live at? So I think for us, we kind of walk around with that badge of pride, ensuring that when the men come there, sometimes they're overwhelmed with the home, but more specifically, the recovery that takes place in the home. What we got coming up, I would like to share is in spring, we're breaking ground on a quadplex, independent housing, 4 one-bedroom apartments for men in recovery. There is a criteria for that. Individuals have to have at least a year in sobriety, as well as working full time. The other thing we're opening, sector we're opening is 2 duplexes for married couples in recovery. This will be one of the first in Kalamazoo, Michigan, so we're excited about that. The other thing, listening to Jodie, I would like to talk about real quick, Catherine, is we also have a social enterprise that we've been working on a very long time. I'm pleased to announce it here. We're starting a transportation service for the recovery community. The transportation service is basically Uber, is designed like Uber. However, the drivers are only recovery coaches and peer support specialists, and it works off of an app. If Catherine would allow me, I would love to come back at another time and do a demonstration. We're about to launch a pilot program with 2 organizations right here in Kalamazoo. The goal is for the transportation service to reach anywhere in Southwest Michigan.
And it's only for like people in recovery to use?
Only for people in recovery. This is specifically for recovery services. You had to be getting to treatment, detox, or recovery appointments. The drivers are only recovery coaches and peer support specialists.
That's awesome. What a great idea.
Would this get them back and forth to meetings as well, Chris?
Could get them back and forth to meetings as well.
So
they-
anything recovery focused?
Anything recovery focused is basically what we consider a non-medical transportation service. And it's discreet. So the same with Uber, the drivers will have identification, background checks, they must have insurance, so forth. They also drive their own vehicles. So again, at maybe a later date, we could come back and really talk about it, and I could share more with it. The other thing I would like to highlight is that at Reach, we ensure that the peer-to-peer support is evident. I've learned in almost 4 years that that's what really works is the peer-to-peer. And I think the guys that have come through Reach, they really believe in a model of peer-to-peer as well as alumni. So our alumni, part of our organization is the alumni, and alumni is real important as well because that shows that it works when individuals come back and actually take part and a buy into somebody else's recovery.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Chris? Chris, could you put your information in the chat as well, just in case somebody wants to reach out and ask more questions about what you're doing, or if they can somehow get involved if they're in that location?
Absolutely.
Is that a
Question
free-
about the transportation? Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
I didn't.
Is that a free service is what all I was wondering for the people that choose to use that?
It's not.
Uber?
It's not a free service.
Okay.
However, there'll be sliding scale fees. And then different organizations can download the software and it basically can operate as a billable service. But if you want to use the app portion, then it operates just like you're requesting a ride through Uber.
Thank you.
Go ahead,
The
Lillian.
question that I had was, would that qualify for like rides to like donation centers, food donation centers and stuff like that?
Yes, it would. Again, anything kind of recovery oriented, because what we're finding out is, I mean, all of us on this call probably can attest to this, is transportation is still a huge barrier in the recovery sector, right? We get calls all the time about transportation here in Kalamazoo, outside of Kalamazoo, and the surrounding area. So yes, it would encompass those rides as well.
So this wouldn't be just for an operator cost. This could be something that could be shared with individuals that live in their home, and the individual themselves can take on that service and roughly could you give us kind of is it the cost per transportation time? Is it the cost per month and how many trips they get?
It's pretty much so for the app side of things, it's cost per mile. If you download the software, it could be cost per trip, or it could be cost planned out per month. Like working with the Gilmore Foundation here in Kalamazoo, they say they have some people that they know have to go to a psychiatrist, right, for medication appointments, and they have to go 3 times a month. Or if you think about IOP, how many times a month do you go to IOP? So some of that could be planned out, and it could be cost per occurrence, or if you're doing the app side of it, it would be cost per mileage.
Could you give us an approximate amount of dollar amount
$1.86
per mile?
Yes, right now is the going rate in the state of Michigan, pretty much for ride share.
Basically, it would be, yeah, like Uber. I know a lot of people don't use Uber and Lyft, and maybe they don't know like the basics, but
Yeah. It's $1.86 per mile, pretty much the same as Uber.
and it would let you know, like when you're looking for a ride, it tells you what's available in your area, what the rate is before you even accept it, that kind of thing. So you're not just like, you didn't just get a ride and you're stuck. Oh my God, that was $20. And you know ahead of time what you're paying for.
Full mapping system. It has a full mapping system, tells you who's picking you up, when they will arrive. I guess the cool thing about it is you have a recovery coach or a peer support specialist that's driving you there. It's discreet, and we do what we have a part of it where we can also take part in the intake process if it's drug treatment. So it's door to door. Then we have another side of it, what we call companionship, because we have also paid for people to go out of state, where we actually have somebody fly with you to that location and then fly back. That's a different cost. That's a different cost, but yeah.
That gentle handoff though, Chris, is so important because
Yes.
as operators, we don't really know. They're coming right from treatment, but sometimes they turn left before they come, to their house and who knows what they're doing and stuff. So having that gentle handoff, knowing they got there safely and they're still clean and sober, hard to put a price on that too. So.
Yes.
Anybody have any questions for Chris? Not anything? I think that sounds like a great idea. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing. And congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Keep up the good work. Was there anything else you wanted to share?
No, that's pretty much it. Other than the groundbreaking ceremonies, if anybody in the area, I'll send that information out at the top of the spring. I'm really excited to get the fourplex open because if your area is anywhere like Kalamazoo, often you hear that we have a housing crisis. So we're really happy to get the fourplex up and going, and give individuals some stable housing and a chance at a recovery community apartment building. So I think it's going to be really cool.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I asked everyone at the start of the meeting, if you could please, if you haven't already, go to the chat and put in your organization and your name. So we can kind of take roll call that way, kind of see who's here. If you can't, just as a reminder, for some reason you can't attend a monthly meeting, it's the second Wednesday of every month from 3 p.m. to 4. Kayla usually sends out a couple reminders like a week before, a day before. Please remember too that you can actually go to the MARR website on michiganarr.com and go to news and then click on YouTube, and you can actually see the meeting. So if you can't attend, we understand life happens, things happen, but we do want everyone to always be aware and up to date on what's going on with everything at that time. So, all right. Kayla, is there anything else you wanted to talk about today?
I did want to see if Grayson wanted to share her question that came up earlier this week. I know it kind of got resolved a little bit, but I thought that was a great question to bring up to other operators. Grayson, are you still on the call?
I am still here. Thank you. So I reached out to MARR this week to find out if they had a list of approved consequences for unwanted behavior. I'm a newer operator and I'm making up a lot of this as I go along. So I wanted to get some feedback and find out what kind of things other people were doing.
Awesome.
There's no list.
Yeah. Does anyone have some great advice or things that they do in their recovery residences that they can share with Grayson?
I know my team often uses 30 meetings in 30 days to kind of help them get more tuned into their recovery by giving them a measurable of what they can do to actually get more active in the recovery versus slowly slipping to the side from inactivity or just going with the flow. But a lot of times what we tell people when it comes to consequences is it's the consequence that we give out is based on two aspects. One is what is their level of accountability that they're owning up to? And then the other one has to do with, based on what the problem is, how well is Recovery Road equipped to help them? And with those two aspects, that helps us to know what kind of penalty or gentle nudge should we give out.
Yeah,
Thank
I would
you.
like to add to that too. One of the things we do, and it's in our handbook as well, so they can see it when they first come in and sign off on it so that they understand it, is we have a tier-based fine system. Yeah, so it really depends on the situation, as well as working in a men recovery program. Men really look forward to overnights. So it really depends on if you had a verbal warning, a written warning, you could lose a privilege. And once someone starts building recovery capital, social capital, they really start looking to that at kind of that reunification of family, friends, and loved ones. So to have an overnight taken away means a lot. And again, it really depends on what has taken place. We really try to ensure that we humanize the situation, and that we don't just take a privilege away, but you see it coming and it's in writing, so you know it before it happens.
That's awesome. That's a really good idea.
We have pretty specific levels, as I've heard before. There's certain things that are just, if this happens, you have to leave. You know, the very obvious ones, if there's any fighting, if there's any stealing, and it keeps a pretty good even keel across the board, and they're very well aware of that. Otherwise, the behaviors that they have, they're reverted back on them. So they're given options of what they can do to correct those behaviors. And if they have the willingness to correct them, then they are given the ability to go beyond the probationary period of whatever it is. Depending on what it is, sometimes they get a week, sometimes they get, 2-3 weeks, but they have to correct their own behaviors to be able to continue in the program.
It's great. It's great advice. Stacey?
We do write-ups at our house. And so on the write-ups, there's a place that basically says, like, how are you going to correct this action, going forward? And then there's a place to put a date, like a goal date to revisit, to make sure that they're really correcting the behavior. And then if they get 3 write-ups, then they're back down, because we put them on restriction for their first 30 days. They have to do 30 and 30. They're not allowed to go anywhere alone. They have to have an accountability partner. And so if they get 3 write-ups, then they just go back onto that initial restriction.
Awesome. Awesome. Stacey?
I have a question or comment about a different subject. You want me to wait?
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay.
All right. Does anyone have any other advice for Grayson or anything that they do at their homes that they found works really well?
We do something similar to like the write-ups, but we call them sanctions. So it's essentially kind of like accompanied with the loss of privilege, as well as like intensifying their services for a period of time. So for 30 days, we kind of restrict the privileges. They can't advance in their stages. They kind of have limited flexibility with where they're able to come and go. What we also do is we assign them writing assignments. We do consequence journals, and then we have them do like little essays as well. Just kind of exploring like the importance of following rules, why these rules are put into place, exploring their reasoning for being in sober living, kind of what all is riding on them needing to be here, which kind of gives them the opportunity to put it down on paper and explore kind of why they're here and why these consequences were assigned for the breaking of these rules. So we've noticed that be very successful, and it's kind of it doesn't hit them too hard with the consequences right away. And then depending on like if they get sanction number 1, by sanction number 2 will increase the amount of time that they're on the restriction for, or the amount of writing assignments that they have to do. We'll pick different topics that they'll have to write about that will kind of allow them to explore those different scenarios.
That's awesome. Sounds like there's a couple of different ideas. Does that give you some good input, Grayson?
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate everyone's time.
What I like to tell people and remind operators as well, recovery housing is so much more than just putting a roof over their head and say don't use, right? It's a program of enrollment. This is the time, this is a learning time for them, healing time. And you need to have that structure in place. There needs to be rules. All the rules should be enforced. There's no one rule that isn't just as important as the other. And if they start to pick and choose what rules they're going to follow, it kind of may, and you allow that without any kind of consequences, it makes all the rules seem suspect. All the way down to, you know, I'm coming in late for curfew, or I'm not making my bed every day, or doing my chore. Things need to be addressed when they happen to show that you're consistent and you care. You care about them, you know. So thank you. Thank you for all the feedback. Stacy, you had a different subject?
I was wondering, I can't be the only person who has had someone be asked to leave for whatever reason and has refused to leave. And I guess I need some direction or guidance about how legally we can do something in Michigan when this happens. Most recently, I had somebody that was asked to leave on a Wednesday night and refused. And he was in the house for 6 days, openly drinking, smoking crack. And the police would not aid me in removing him.
Oh, wow.
So legally, they'll say it's tenant landlord and that you have to take them to court and follow the eviction process, but there's got to be something to protect us.
There is. So yeah,
Not tenant landlord.
yeah, we have sign actually at our house. They have to sign in their paperwork when they come in, agreeing that they understand that there is not tenant landlord rights here.
Yeah, I have that contract, and also I show that to them and they signed it, but the police will say this does not supersede Michigan law. And in Michigan law, if that's their residence, you have to give them warning. You can do a 24-hour emergency eviction, which is what I did because there were narcotics involved. But this happened on a Wednesday night. And when I went to get the police report on a Friday morning, the police records department wasn't open until Monday at 12:30. So it completely tied my hands, other than physically removing him and then getting charged with assault myself. There was nothing I could do.
Oh,
Jeff Van Treese, what's your legal advice?
It's unclear. The law in Michigan is very unclear. And also, let me add something. If you're in a court and the court determines that there was actually a landlord-tenant relationship that existed, irrespective of what they signed, you can also get hit with 3 times actual damages, treble damages, and actual attorney's fees. There are 2 windows of opportunity that might help. One would be, as you mentioned earlier, have them sign something that says that the landlord-tenant relationship does not exist, that this is a recovery house that's run according to the NARR and the MARR principles, and that they agree that any additional use on their port severs the relationship. The next thing you can do is try to meet with your local county sheriff, city police departments and attempt to get their assistance. But when push comes to shove, when somebody's just sitting there in the house and saying, I refuse to leave, there's currently no clear Michigan law that protects the recovery residence operator. Having said all of that,
This is the second time in 8 years this has happened, so it's not all the time. But the first time it took 4 months to get him out of the house. I had to move every resident out of the house. So every other bed was empty, and he destroyed the inside of the house in those 4 months before we went to court and he got evicted.
Yeah, that sounds consistent with what I've heard from other operators over the last 5-10 years.
Yeah.
So
we're all in
said all
danger
that,
should someone choose to jump on that and refuse to whatever they've signed. If they go to the police and say, I'm not leaving, the police will tell you, you cannot lock them out. Because I did that. And the police called me and made me let them back in.
And that's accurate. So here's what we're trying to do, and I've been trying to do this for the last 4+ years, is to get a statute passed in Michigan that would be similar to what exists in the state of Florida. And there's also a model state law committee. It's a national committee that's come up with the same type of statute that provides if you're in a recovery house that's certified by the NAR affiliate or by an Oxford House charter, that your only duty is to help try to find a higher level of support for the individual that's failing, but also provides for immunity from any type of landlord-tenant action, specifically provides that the landlord-tenant law does not apply. And so in
That
Florida,
could be just
unlike
drop
Michigan,
them off at ER, right?
yeah. Well, yeah, it's typically somebody's going to go to an emergency room setting or some other type of facility. But yes, it's a missing piece of the puzzle that we've been working on here in Michigan. I can tell you that there's only one state, it's Florida, that provides for that exemption, and we're trying to get that changed in Michigan. So if any of the operators know any political representatives or senators, please let me know who that contact might be, and be happy to try to talk with them or their staff about getting the model state law or something similar adopted in Michigan.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
This is Ron DeBose from the Comfort Home. We used to have the same issue. We spoke with the captain of the Grand Rapids Police Department, and he told us recovery residents fall under the same law as adult foster care.
Man, he's wrong.
We would never have the issue again, and we have never had the issue of the police not removing the residents since, and it's been a year and a half.
And I want to echo Rob.
That's fantastic, Ron, that they do that. But I can tell you that the police officer is incorrect on the law. But there's no need to tell the police officer that he's incorrect on the law if he's cooperating with us, right?
I want to echo that. I'm not going to fight it, but exactly. We've had an issue. He gave us his personal cell phone number, and we'll call him up, and he will correct his officers, and they will remove those residents immediately.
Wow, that's very fortunate.
Yeah,
it all depends on what county you're in, for sure. Because we've had people that have had situations like this where the police they see that they signed this document, that's all they need to see, and they'll get rid of them for you. And then there's people that live in your county that they think that they know the law is different and they don't care what they signed, and they're not going to do anything for you. So
go ahead, Chris.
I just wanted to add, we're not too far from Grand Rapids, and we've had the same situation with the police department. I have a great relationship with the full police department, but more specifically, the liaison for my neighborhood, that the house that where we sit in. And in 4 years, we've never had a situation. But I did have to have somebody walk out. The individual stated that I have a right to be here because I stay here. But because they were familiar with our program and what we do, the police officer actually started explaining to him, this is a recovery home. You do not have a tenant to landlord relationship. We're going to give you 5 minutes to get your belongings. If you don't get your belongings, we're going to put you in handcuffs and take you out of here.
Wow.
So, I mean, again, I think it's the police department, more specifically who's patrolling your area. But, you know, we invite the police out every chance we get. Every spring we have an open house. We got them out coming to our events and walking them in the home. And even with our neighborhood association, there's always a police officer there. So he's familiar with us as well. We've only had it happen one time in a year. And it happened as soon as the gentleman got to the house. He just didn't want to do anything, and he said what he wasn't going to do. We asked him to leave. He wouldn't leave, called the police. It might have took him 10 minutes to get him out of there.
Wow. So it's location, location, location.
And getting to know your
Build those relationships with your local area, local police department. Let them know who you are. Let them see your home and understand. A lot of times it's just educating them on what you do, who you are. And so these officers have seen the benefit of a recovery residence, and fortunately, they've been able to back these individuals up. Again, something you need to make sure that you do as an operator, where we're over time, sorry about that. Make sure there's nothing in your rules where you're saying that you're leasing or you're renting from us your program of enrollment. When you sign a receipt for receiving payment from somebody, it might say rent or lease on there, draw a line through it and put program fees. If you're signing anything or you're allowing them to sign anything that says they are renting or leasing from you, that does also bind you with tenant landlord laws, and it can make things more difficult. So please be aware of that. We are over time. I apologize for that. I think we had a really good conversation going on today with a lot of things. Happy holidays. And I can't believe it's December already. But thank you so much for all you do. And I see a few new faces. Sean, you're one. I look forward to seeing all of you before the end of December. And we'll see you shortly after the new year. Be safe, everyone.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.